submitting for gigs playing Candy Crush all day long. And like, and honestly, I was doing it so that like my girlfriend and I could finally be in a position where like we can afford to have an apartment together. And I wanted to move forward with my life. And so I kind of, I would tell her this all the time. I'm like, I'm doing it for you. And she's like, no, you're doing it for you. And I'm like, no, but it makes me feel more motivated if I'm not doing it for myself and I'm doing it for someone else, because I'm a like compulsive people pleaser. Mm-hmm. And if someone else's feelings are on the line, I cannot give up. So
it's a very grand vision. I like that.
So, and then when that sunk in, I was just like, no, I will figure it out. Like, I have always been able to figure it out and like make it work, and I'm going to make it work now. Mm-hmm. And then I did. You know, I survived. It was over. It was 13 weeks and it was over.
Okay. So those 13 weeks were done, and then what happened? And
then the job hunt hit.
Oh, and how did that go?
It was awful.
Why? Why was it awful?
Well, it was in the middle of winter in New York, so let's just start with that.
Oh, Lordy. Yeah.
So it was too, like, I didn't have the funds to, like, go to a coffee shop every day. Like, even though that's not that much money, like, I'm not the kind of person who feels comfortable buying one cup of coffee and never leaving. Like, I have to continuously, like, buy things from them, and, like, so I would stay home under a heating blanket. It was like me and my 2 cats, and like just trying to connect with everyone on LinkedIn, trying to constantly like research the job postings and the companies and see if it's actually what I want to do, and double check their Glassdoor, and then like make all of my cover letters specific to that company. And then on top of that, like also go to meetups and network and like enhance my skill sets, and then try to find time to do coding projects on the side and like learn all these technologies that I'm seeing them require that, you know, didn't necessarily meet my whole stack, and all kinds of things. And it was really overwhelming, and you're putting so much energy out there and barely getting anything back. Machines are kicking out your resume automatically. People who like you meet at a meetup who like really like you and ask for your information, then tell you like, oh no, we still need people with experience. Like I can't, you know, take on someone who hasn't had a job yet. And it's just, it's a lot. And you go through these periods where you feel like everything that you were taught was like a lie. Like,
wait, everything being taught about what?
Like, so in the program they have, like career success advisors who, so like in the last 6 weeks, like in the beginning, they kind of talk to you, or they help you like get your LinkedIn profile up, you know, your resume like created and edited and formatted. And then we start doing like mock interviews, and like they're trying to really prep you on all of the ways that you could job hunt. And the thing is like they give you everything you can do. So like I thought I had to do everything, and I burnt out very quickly. Mm-hmm. Like it was really hard. And then I had to start picking the things that like I could do. So like I feel very uncomfortable. Like when I go to a meetup and like people are talking to each other, I will stand like in a corner with my beer by myself and like try to find the other human who is also doing the same, and then be like, can we please pretend to be friends so I don't have to be awkward? Like, I just don't like going up to people and being like, hi, talk to me now. Mm-hmm. I'm a huge proponent of like, I like things to happen naturally, you know? So like if I sat down at a table and there are other people sitting at the table and then they started talking to me, that's fine. And like, that's actually probably one of my favorite ways to do it. But like at meetups, you know, sometimes it's just people standing around chairs, and it was very weird for me at first. So I also didn't like cold asking people to like meet me for coffee, because I know that asking for coffees is like a huge thing, and so many people are really cool about it. They're like, yeah, let's meet it. But I had like so many people just ignore me, or people start talking to me but never follow through. I literally one time showed up for a coffee that we scheduled the day before, and the person did not show up. Messaged me. I never heard from that person again. Yeah. And so I just was like, this is pointless, because even if I do meet them for coffee, like by the time they get to know me well enough to recommend me, like that job is going to be gone. And and I like, so it just felt a little overwhelming. And I was also misunderstood. They were like, be careful of third-party recruiters, and I didn't necessarily understand why. And so I like turned down a couple third-party recruiters until I finally talked to one of the career success people. I'm like, why am I turning these people down? Because I remember you saying to like be careful, and she was like, oh, some of them aren't very legit, but other of them are. You just have to use your discretion. And I was like, oh, okay. And so actually for my job, I got scouted because I have an acting background and I'm a good communicator, and like that's how I market myself. And the recruiter who reached out to me said like, I've had success finding jobs for people like from your program who have like similar backgrounds, and I think you may like this position. He warned me. He was like, it's a little weird because it's not like normal coding where you're like writing JavaScript or whatever language you write in. Like they have their own platform, but you have to understand everything that's going on inside of an app because you're putting all the pieces together. And the way he explained it is like, it's like they have software engineers who build like the Legos, and then you are the builder who actually makes it into something. So they're making all the pieces for you to build with. And I was like hesitant because I didn't want to like lose all that I had just learned. But also at this point I was like 3 months into the job hunt, and like I was running out of my tax refunds, and I was like, all right, I'm going to give this a shot. And the more I talked to people and I like learned the culture, the company that I now work for has been ranked, like one of the most it's like one of the highest ranked ethically. It's incredibly diverse. They have like such a huge culture of communication and sharing of ideas, and like they have told me multiple times like speak up, we want to hear your ideas. And like I obviously am not at a loss for words ever, but like when I'm trying to figure a situation out, I usually hold back until I can feel confident in what I'm saying. But they're just like, even if you are not confident, like if you have a question, it's probably because we didn't do a good job either explaining it or missing something that you're seeing. So like, even if you feel like it's a dumb question, like please ask. And so since the company is so invested in its talent and its the people to build this product, I felt attracted to giving them a try. And I would be able to I wouldn't be like focused on like just front end or back end. Like I would be building from like data models up into UI. And take ownership over that process. And so, I know that in the future I would like to get into like dev advocacy and helping other developers like with representing my company's technology, like utilizing that. And I think that being part of the process of being on teams that build and like really having a holistic view of the whole picture is really valuable. And I thought that, maybe working for a company like this would give me that, like being involved in the whole process so that like if a developer ever came to me in the future when I'm representing a specific technology, like we have a problem here, I'm like, oh, that sounds like it's specific to like this area of development, and like having a grasp on everything that's going on. So, and the more I interviewed, the more I liked the people that I was interviewing with. And actually, my last interview, the manager who was interviewing me was actually out of the office that day because he had to stay home sick. And so he interviewed me over like a video conferencing thing, but his camera wasn't turned on. So and they didn't know this. So like the people who'd interviewed me before left the conference room and like so that he could like basically phone in with me. And his video wasn't turned on, so it was just his voice. And he could see the whole room, and I couldn't see him at all. But I could hear his voice. And like there's a whiteboard behind me, and so I'm basically interviewing to this voice in an empty room. And I'm really, really grateful that I have all my years of acting experience because like you are trained to just like go into a room and own it. And so it's like you'll be auditioning with this scene that is like really intense between you and one other person who isn't actually there. It might be someone at like a folding table on the corner, just like staring at the paper, reading the lines. Mm-hmm. And then there's like anywhere from like 2 to 10 people behind on that table, just like watching you and taking notes and on their phone and eating lunch. And you just kind of have to like deliver this authentic thing to these people in this like really random room. So I think my ability to just take a situation and just like, all right, just do my best in that situation. I felt really cool because I was like, am I still in the frame? Can you see me over here? Like, like knowing to check for that stuff because I am so used to being on camera. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, I got the job. And yeah.
So that's amazing. Yeah.
It was amazing. Like, I did the whole, like, I was scared to negotiate, but the offer they made me was, like, at the top of what I even hoped to make. And so I, like, called my career success advisor. I'm like, I don't need to negotiate, do I? And she's like, no. And I was like, okay, cool. Cause that's what I was, like, really nervous about. Yeah. So I accepted the offer, and then like a day later, I was hanging out with my girlfriend. We went out and celebrated. We had dinner, and we got back to her place, and she was like, "I'm so proud of you. You did it." And I started bawling, and she was like, "Oh my God, why are you crying?" And I was like, "I did it." And she's like, "Yeah, I know." And I was like, "It was so hard." It was like months of just like, you can do this, you can handle this, like this is for a purpose, this is for a reason. And then I got the job, and it was just like all of that just like hit me, like all the work that I had put in, and like how much I had just believed in myself. It really came down to, it's like you either have to choose to trust in your skill set and like your ability to handle this, or give up. Like trust in yourself or give up. And I continuously chose myself. And like I continually trusted that like I am capable enough to figure things out, even if I don't see how right now. Like I will figure it out step by step. And I took it step by step, and I made it. And it was really, really awesome.
Yeah. So you're 5 weeks in now? Is that correct?
Yeah. So I've been at my job for 5 weeks now. So technically I'm fully onboarded, although I don't think you can get fully onboarded into any company for like 6 months, but.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But yeah. In what you've seen so far, has the recruiter been correct? Like, has your background been an asset in what you've been doing so far?
Yeah, I think it has in many ways. Like not even obvious ways at all. Like, I mean, there's obviously been times like we had to present our capstone application apps that we had built in my program. And I was like running, like helping my team memorize what they're going to say by doing these different memorization acting techniques that I did. Or like I gave a talk, for a meetup, in New York, Angular NYC. And it blew it was a live coding thing, which I know not to do, but I had like saved all my stuff in live templates, and I was like as prepared as I could be, and it was going to be really, and everything I didn't plan for like blew up in my face so poorly. And I just rolled with it and kept trying to keep people entertained and engaged. And afterwards, everyone was like, that was so much fun. Like, thank you so much for such a fun talk. And I was like, literally nothing happened. Like, it all failed. So there was like no point to my talk other than like watching me fail with grace. But things like that. But also, I think also, as an actor, I have had to support myself being a server at restaurants, and that is a whole nother skill set of people and like anticipating problems and planning ahead and learning from your mistakes so you don't have to deal with that again, and like multitasking and handling like 800 things going on. And like my company is still technically a startup, even though it's fairly established and fairly stable. But you know, they're building out a product, so like teams will shift, and the team that I got assigned on is shifting around. And you know, I'm meeting with my next managers, and they're like, sorry that it's so, you know, a little bit like chaotic and we don't know 100% where things are going. And I'm like, this is fine. Like, I exist perfectly fine in chaos. Like, don't worry. I just like, let me know, like the goals that we're going to reach and like what you expect from me in particular. And then I will find a way to excel in that one little task. Like, I can do that. Yeah. And so I think being able to handle like chaos with, in